Hey guys, it's Bots Obsession, and we're going to be talking about Transformers 1. I'm going to try and do this as spoiler-free as possible. I just want to share some of my general thoughts about the movie, what I thought was good, what I thought was bad. Opening up, Orion is great. There's a lot of really good moments and funny moments with Orion. He definitely feels like that young Optimus Prime kind of plucky character that we expect him to be. A little inexperienced, but like noble and honorable to a fault. There's a ton of cameos in this movie, which is a lot of fun. Something that's been enjoyable is me and all my friends kind of like talking in like Discord and being like, oh, did you see this guy? Did you see that guy? And because of all the generics that are kind of in the background, you can almost futz in like half the Diaclone cast. There's a race that they show in the trailer that is obviously in the movie, and it's like played off as a big deal in the trailer, but it really only takes up about 2 to 3 minutes of the movie, and it's one of the best scenes. If you're like looking for like the standout scene in this movie, it is that part. Sentinel is a fantastic villain. He has this like grace and gravitas and larger than life presence, and the Transformers hold him as such, and so it's really cool to see him be so bold, so brazen, and it just really works for me. I really like him as the villain. The origin story for this movie is also really good. The way that they've changed it and taken from both Aligned and G1 and a lot of other things and mishmashed it, this is not what we're used to. I also was talking to the Discord earlier, and they mentioned that this does fix a lot of problems with the Decepticons, whereas the Decepticons are like beat down guys typically, and then they rise up to meet the Autobots, who are like aristocrats and bureaucracy and stuff. It kind of flips it in this movie, where everyone's almost sort of equal. It makes the Decepticons less sympathetic. If you're one of those people who are like, whoa, the Decepticons are on the right, they should have rose up. In this movie, they kind of remove that sympathetic aspect from the Decepticons, which I think is a good move overall. As I said, there's a lot from like the Aligned continuity pulled in here. D16 obviously is Megatron's name in the Aligned continuity. Other than that, and a few other things about like the 13 that we see and we know about from the trailers, there's not a whole lot pulled from this. Something that I want to mention before you go into this, they do mention the 13, and instead of Optimus Prime being the 13th, it's actually Zeta this time around. I don't consider that really a spoiler. It's just something that I didn't realize after watching the movie, so there you go. There is a insane amount of Megatron just stealing the show. I love every moment that he's on screen. After like the first bit, and they get the cogs like they do in the trailer. Once Megatron has his cog, oh my god, he's just chewing up every scene that he's in. It's really, really good. I really enjoy his character. He is the most unique character in this movie, I think, aside from like Sentinel. There's a lot of great moments of like bro time between Orion and Megatron too, so I really enjoyed that. You really felt for it. You saw Megatron fall, you saw D16 going down this path, and you saw Orion trying to not fall down the same path. You saw him keeping to his morals and following Alita and Bumblebee. Bumblebee was the one part of this movie I was the most worried about too. In the trailer, he has that badassatron line, and I'm just like, this is stupid. And it was one of the parts of the first trailer that I just wasn't interested in. It's part of the thing that made me not want to see the movie. I am happy to report that Bumblebee is not nearly as brazen in the film. In the final product, Bumblebee does provide that comedic relief, but he's a lot more toned back, and he knows when to be serious. I'm very happy that they didn't go overboard with him or make him an Olaf or any other dumb comic relief character that just doesn't know when to shut up. There's also a lot less like Marvel humor in here than I thought. There's no bits where people are serious and then it like cuts to Bumblebee saying something jokey or a pun about what was just said. There's no Family Guy cutaway type things like that. It's very story focused, it's very story driven. These characters, you can believe that they're palling along. And while Bumblebee does usually provide some light-hearted commentary whenever they're traveling during some of the serious moments, there's moments where it's very serious. You can tell he's a little bit of a goofball, but he knows when things are actually like, when shit hits the fan, he's locked in. Alita is also really interesting. She's like this like stern commander type. I'm not sure how much I like it. It's very one note. She doesn't get a lot of dialogue in the movie. She talks a bit to Orion, but it's mostly like, Orion, what are you gonna do, and stuff like that, aside from her introductory scene where she's like a job foreman. This movie is also shockingly graphic. There is some crazy combat moments in this movie where the Transformers use their alt mode parts, which is something that I love. I praise it every time I see Transformers using their alt mode, like in robot mode, to actually use combat. There's a bit where Megatron uses his tank turret on his back in robot mode. It's like halfway through transforming and fires it. Really cool moment. I really enjoyed how these Transformers fought. It felt unique, and it was clear that the animators or whoever was scripting these scenes was having fun with these characters and being like, yes, they are robots, they turn into things, they should be able to fight using that ability. They wouldn't fight the same way that people fight because they have the ability to change shape mid-combat. So I did really enjoy that. There's a specific really cool like kill from Optimus Prime, and I don't want to spoil it. It's so cool though. It's such a clever like bit in the movie. So do check that out. Like it's almost worth it just to see it for that scene. Kind of going into like closing, this is a good movie. This is a good movie. I would argue that it's probably the best Transformers movie. That doesn't mean it's the most like enjoyable in terms of like from my end. This movie is very predictable. If you know anything about Optimus and Megatron, then you kind of know what this movie is going into, what's going to happen in it. And yes, everything you think happens in it happens. That's what this movie is. There's no surprises here. I will say that while I was kind of talking about and praising some of the character choices, aside from Megatron, all of these characters are really cut and paste. I've seen these guys before. I've seen the traitorous bad guy. I've seen the noble leader. I've seen the jokey sidekick, and I've seen the field commander character before. I've seen all of these. Even Megatron feels a little samey, but at least he's interesting. His character has some interesting lines, and it's not a character that you would typically see paired with these three. So while they do feel kind of cut and paste, I do think that Megatron really gets to shine because the other ones feel so bland. That said, I'm not trying to bark on this movie. I am glad I saw it. I went into Rise of the Beasts with like almost no knowledge. I saw the first trailer and I was like, cool, Beast Wars guys. And then Scourge and Unicron are in it, and I'm like, holy crap, that's crazy. And so I was surprised, and it's that movie shocked me and surprised me, and I really enjoyed it. And then I get Transformers 1, which is a very predictable romp through Cybertron. And I've seen this story before. It's kind of like watching Batman. You know what's going to happen. That doesn't mean it's bad. It is definitely a good movie, and the people who made it seem to care. There's a lot of love poured into it. So I think if you're on the fence about seeing Transformers 1, or you're worried it's too kiddie, it's not. I watched it and I felt like I was watching a movie of substance. I didn't feel like I was watching child slop. I felt like I was watching an animated movie that was like a family picture. There is a lot of stuff in there for fans. And like I said, it's shockingly violent. There are some moments in there where I was like, this is like a kid movie, right? Like, final thoughts. Yes, Transformers 1 is good. I'm glad I was wrong. I was really worried from the first trailer that this movie was going to suck, that it was just going to be a child slop film, and I'm very happy to say that it is not. Is it my favorite Transformers movie? No. I don't think this is my favorite Transformers movie. I did enjoy it. I'd probably watch it again. Not in theaters, but I'd probably watch it again. With that said, thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you've seen Transformers 1. Let me know what your thoughts are on Transformers 1 down below, and I'll see you in the next one. This has been Bots Obsession.
I'd also like to thank my Patreon supporters, Luke Thompson, Grim Lockdown, Proton Collectibles, and Snowflak316. Thank you for supporting the channel.